It's because people go down on holidays, especially this time of the year, just to relax, to get away from it all, just have some peace in their life. And you don't need to go down to Esperance or Albany or Margaret River to get that type of peace. You get that type of peace in Nolamara, in a Buddhist center. We learn how to relax the body so deeply. And it feels delightful. It feels at ease. When it starts to feel at ease like that, that delight which comes up is an important thing to remember, because meditation, when it's done properly, is very delightful. This is just the start of the happiness which comes from meditation. It feels just so good. And number two, please don't be afraid of happiness. For some reason or other, and I really can't figure this out, for some reason or other, people have the misconception that no pain, no gain. That's a stupid thing. In meditation, it is just no pleasure, no depth. In other words, no delight in the beauty and the happiness of a relaxed body. Then you never get to that relaxation. So when the body does feel delightful, please focus on that delight. And the body gets even more relaxed. And when it gets more relaxed, the next thing which happens is the body vanishes. It's not a problem anymore. It's the business has been done. The body has been calmed. And then, as you've heard me on Friday night say, the next thing is to realize the peaceometer. These are really weird words which you try and invent to try and point people to the first important thing to watch inside the mind. You know, it's hard to know a thing, but you know its characteristics. You know, what is a garden? A garden is measured by the trees and the flowers and the bushes and the paths inside that landscaped piece of nature. That's how we know it's a garden. What is a mind? A mind is where peace or agitation live. So when we start looking at how peaceful we are, how agitated we are, we're starting to observe our mind. But we're also observing the most important part of the mind in this stage of meditation. How peaceful is it? Once you know what peace feels like, I mentioned this on last Friday night, yesterday. Sometimes people can spell the word peace. They can talk about peace, but do they really know what peace is? You feel that peace. You get to know her very, very deeply. Once you get to know peace and what causes peace in the mind and what disturbs it, that gives you so much amazing instructions for your meditation path. Doesn't matter what type of meditation you are pursuing, it all starts with a relaxed body and a peaceful mind. And to develop that peace in the mind is not that difficult once you know what you're supposed to be watching. And once you look with mindfulness, that is where wisdom comes from. You learn simple insights. What disturbs your mind? What causes the mind to be peaceful? And you don't believe what people like me, monks, say. You don't read the books and see what the experts say. It's how you feel, your own experience. And then you find, that simple things which you've heard so many times before, but then it's your own knowledge, your own experience, then it is real for you. Things like being in the moment, no past, no future. I don't know why people they get caught up wanting to disturb themselves. This present moment isn't that bad. In fact, it's gorgeous being here, enjoying this moment. Why is it that people can't do this? I was too busy, got too many things to do. No, you're not. That's an excuse. Even I do lots of stuff, got lots of responsibilities. But when I want to stop, I can stop. And I take the opportunity to stop. It's not just, oh, I can do it sometime later, I'll do it now. And when I stop, the mind gets so powerful and delightful. When the body relaxes, it feels delight. When the mind relaxes, that feels especially delightful. You go the joyful present moment. And other things which you read about, which people teach about watching the breathing, that comes up by itself when it's ready. The joyful breath, the blissful breath, that comes up. Even what I was talking about, did I talk about that last night? No, I don't think I did. Like nimittas and stuff. That is also just comes up by itself. It happens naturally. And that's what people sort of tell me. I know that from my own experience, but that when they just do these relaxations, they get blown away by just how peaceful and calm this mind can be. And how delightful it is, how joyful. These wonderful deep meditations. And that's a signal to you that you are getting into this path of meditation, getting so much happiness out of it, for free. And you wonder, why don't I do more of this meditation? It's so joyful, much better than watching the TV, or checking up on your emails, or checking up on anything else. Check up on the inner happiness, the peace, the stillness, which is right there for you. Anytime you want, wherever you want. People were asking me 2 days ago, Thursday night, I had to give a Zoom talk at the London Buddhist Society about meditation. And just normal question, what if you live in a very busy place and it's very hard to find some silence and peace, physical? And that's our modern world, but it doesn't stop here. I remember the times. One of the times which I record and described was just arriving at Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok and had an hour, not to kill, because that's a terrible word to say, an hour before my car would be taking me off to some conference. And the person who met me said, well, what do you want to do for an hour? And I said, I'll just meditate. So we're here, because it was right in the concourse, which was so busy, so noisy. Hundreds of people, answering their mobile phones, announcements on the PA, people just shouting at each other to greet one another. Hundreds of thousands of people in that concourse. And I said, no, this is fine by me. And I just sat down quietly, closed my eyes, and I do what I call create a bubble around yourself. Just imagine this bubble protecting me. Inside is my body and my mind. Outside is the world. And soon, just the world recedes from you. You can sort of hear the noise, but it's like a long distance away. When in many people's truth, it's only a few feet away from you. You go into nice, peaceful meditation. Because the delight pulls you in. Of peace, happiness. Which means that things just don't disturb you. So this is actually part of our meditation technique. So that was just a little introduction to calm everybody down, I hope. Not send them to sleep, so I better stop now. And now we can actually do the meditation. Guided meditation for the first few minutes, more than that, actually about 10 or 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll be quiet and allow everybody to carry on. And afterwards we do the Q&A. Okay, that's good. So for those of you who want to have a bit of a stretch or something, you can do that. If you want to have a scratch, don't scratch here. Wait till people got their eyes closed, and you can scratch any way you want. I can't, though. I say that to others, but I can't because there's a camera on me. Unfair. So here we go. So closing your eyes. And I'm just stretching my body. A bit here, a bit there. When you meditate a lot, you get to know your body. Spend hours and hours and hours, year after year, understanding just how your body works. And of course my body will be different than other people's bodies. I understand how my one works. you understand how your one works. You feel it. Starting with just a general setup of your meditation position. It's not the same every time. And once you set your meditation position up reasonably well, then you go into more detail, become more refined. So I usually start with my legs. As I teach you, so I practice myself. I don't just make this up. This doesn't come from a book. This is what I do. Get the legs nice and comfortable. I check them. I ask. Feet, how are you? Calves, knees, thighs, how are you all? Because I regard each part of my body as a friend, as a colleague, which I will live with all my life, and I will care for them all. Without my legs and my body and my arms and head and all the organs, what will I do? So I look after them all. And how I look after them, I just ask, how are you? That is my little trick of establishing mindfulness on my legs. Legs, how are you? And I mean it. And I start to know feelings in my body, feelings in my legs. And I can check them. Because it's not just the mindfulness, it's caring as well. What can I do to make you more happy? Legs. And I feel them. Pretty quickly get to know that the legs are fine. The knees, people get sore knees. I look at the knees and relax them. Even if you're not supposed to be able to relax that part of your body, just thinking thoughts of kindness, calm, relaxation, ease. It tends to create the effect of everything down there is loose and peaceful. Kindness works. And then I go, the next stage when I move up from my thighs is to my butt. You're sitting for long periods of time, your bottom becomes sore. So I make sure at the very beginning I put my butt in the best position. I'm aware of it, picking up all the sensations, as many as I can know. And if I wanted to fidget, I'd fidget right now. And my bottom is pretty good. And you go up your back. Because people do have backaches, often when they're meditating. It really disturbs them. So I check that everything is in place. Awareness soon gets to know what to look out for. And the kindness can adjust things. And even inside my body, in the afternoon it's usually pretty relaxed. Because monks, we finish our meal before midday. So now there's basically nothing going on in my guts or my tummy. All nice and peaceful. And the rest of my organs can't feel any aches or pains anywhere. Everything is nicely at ease. If you don't have that feeling of ease, just zoom in on that part of your body which is still aching or painful or tense. Zoom in on it, get to know it, care for it. And you usually find the discovery of what relaxes a small part of your body inside. You can feel it opening up. And often people feel energy come into that part of the body. I don't know how many times when people get into really quiet meditation, and they actually feel part of their body warming up, just a part. This big heat in their shoulder, just one side, not the other side. And can ask why? Because you've had an injury there. And because you're relaxing, your body is taking the opportunity to send a lot of good energy there to heal. It's happened so many times when I've taught meditation, the hot spots in your body. If that happens, whoa, yeah, carry on. This is much better than going to surgery. And then get up to your shoulders. You relax them, really, as much as you can. No one is watching you, so it doesn't matter what your posture is like. No one's going to criticize you, or judge you, or give you marks out of 10. Relax to the max. And then you go down your arms, checking out everything is in a good place, how your arms want to be, not how you want them to be. So I often do, I ask my parts of my body, like now to my hands, where do you want to be positioned? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to ask you what you want. I do that, my hands say, nope, I want to change the little posture there. And of course I do that, follow it straight away. So my hands can adjust. Are you okay now? Yep. You may think this is being stupid, asking parts of your body and getting answers, but it works, at least for me. And then I go up to my shoulders again and up to my neck. I'll just move my head to left to right now. Just a bit of stretching exercise for my neck. And to make sure it's in the best position possibly. Because when I meditate, I don't want to move anything. Get things just in the right place to begin with. And spend time getting things in the right place. And it's like my body says, thank you. And relaxes. And lastly, over to my face. Sometimes you can tell a person's meditation by just how relaxed the muscles of their face are. They're not struggling or striving, they're just enjoying the peace, the stillness, the calm of this moment. The muscles around the eyes, the nose, the mouth, all just get loose. I can feel those muscles right now. I'm aware of them. And I'm relaxing them as much as I can. I still have to talk. And then once the face feels at ease, I'm now aware of my whole body, like joining everything up. And it's sitting here, just mightily relaxed. Really enjoying this moment. I don't look for the delight, I wait for it to arise. It doesn't take long and I can recognize it. For me it's arising quite strongly now. The delight of relaxation. And you will find that when you notice the delightful feeling of a relaxed body, more relaxed than usual, it's not totally relaxed, but it's mightily relaxed. We notice that delight, the relaxation goes deeper. It increases. You're more relaxed than you thought was possible. I just linger there for a while, saying to myself, I deserve this. It's fine. Enjoy the delightful relaxation. And then when I'm ready, I look at my peaceometer. How peaceful am I right now? Giving it a number from 1 to 10. 1 is really peaceful, 10 is really agitated. It's not so important what that number is, just to get some idea of that part of your mind which registers peace or its opposite. Once you're looking there, how do you relax that mind, make it more peaceful? You find it's pretty much the same how you relax parts of your body. Most important thing, kindness. Thinking, phew, that really disturbs everything. Just writing an essay about what's happening, your comments, conclusions, theories, that's really disturbing. See if you can be quiet inside, in the silence. Your awareness should be getting stronger, more poised, more out of control. Don't be afraid of letting go of control. Peace is beautiful. You try to capture peace, and it will slip through the bars of your cage and escape. Don't try to take photographs of your meditation. It's a metaphor, of course. Let this moment go, so another moment can come in. You're just enjoying every moment. Simple, no past, no future, just now. And soon, breath will come in by itself. Breathing in peace, breathe out, let go. Just go really, allow your mind to go as deep as it wants. And you just be this observer. Not doing any work, just seeing what happens. And trusting in this moment, in silence, the mind will develop in meditation. I'm now going to be quiet. When I speak again, it'll be close to the end of the meditation period. Getting close to the end of this meditation period. What's it like inside? What is the emotional feeling of delight, peace, stillness, freedom? Compared to when you started. It's helpful to know just how meditation works and how beautiful are the results. Experience the body. Feel it again. Sitting down. Really deeply relaxed. No stress anywhere. Few moments, I will ring the gong. I'll ring it usually 3 times. So one comes out of meditation gradually, gently. When the gong finishes sounding for that 3rd time, that is the signal to come out from your meditation. Whew. In a few moments, you might get some questions from overseas on meditation. And sometimes it's nice to get those questions from overseas first, because sometimes people in the audience are just nice and peaceful. You can't really formulate questions. Anyway, they'll have some here. Let's see what we've got. It's really nice to be able to stream all these things live. So people who can't actually come here and enjoy just being with the monks or the nuns, they can listen overseas. And it's amazing, just ever since the COVID time, we're doing lots and lots and lots of talks on Zoom, mostly on Zoom and Skype, even whole retreats. And sometimes you really get into it, and even though that I'm in Bodhinyana Monastery and the people are mostly in Europe, it's amazing just how you can connect together. You feel that, wow, this is an amazing retreat. And even though you've got no facial contact, there's something happens with meditation, and you can connect together. It's weird. Anyway, Mike from the USA. Hello, Ajahn Brahm. I have reached the 4th jhana through dependent origination. So as a Pacceka Buddha, what do you recommend doing now? Mike, that is a bit weird, because you don't reach the 4th jhana through dependent origination. fourth jhana happens when you become so peaceful, so still. You stay in that for hours. And you don't tell people, because a lot of times when you tell people, as this was Venerable Chi Kuang's teacher that told her that if ever you do get any wonderful states of mind, please keep it quiet. Otherwise you'll have to spend the rest of your life proving it to others. That's so true. So one of our problems in our modern world is we teach all these things because people need to know. You want to keep it open. And sometimes just people want to attain things. So if you are a Pacceka Buddha, which is so difficult, you don't tell anybody. You just disappear. Anyway, from Indonesia, dear Ajahn, my meditation keeps stuck by the energy that pushed my body up straight. When relaxed to the max and make my body so light, but it's also distracted by my stillness. I cannot even see just how stillness can distract you. Because stillness just calms everything down, makes it so peaceful. And everything, even the motivation to do anything, just vanishes. If your energy pushes your body straight up, fine, let it push your body straight up. But then that energy should disappear from your body. It should go into your mind. I think maybe what's happening here is there is a time when people keep watching the body for too long, which means that you can relax your body, but then people always feel the need to be aware of your body at all stages. They never let it go. So when the energy for meditation does start to come up very strong, very often that's still in your body. And it can leak into that body. Which is where people have these, what's called in other traditions, kundalini, just really strong energy, but really it's energy which should remain in your mind, not in your body. So people are attached to their bodies, obviously so. If we could only let it go a little bit more deeply. This is what we do if you follow the instructions. Look, I didn't know what my body was doing in the last part of today's meditation. It was just so relaxed, it just disappeared. Couldn't feel it at all. All the energy goes into your mind, which is much more beautiful. It's where it belongs. And birds belong in the sky, not in cages. So this is where the energy, the mind energy belongs in that mind, free from the body, which is like a cage. So after a while that means that energy, if you just can manage to really relax the body, delightful body, then go into the mind, which is making your mind very peaceful. It does get energized, but that energy is inside, it's not on the body. And then that will turn into this beautiful, if you're watching the breathing, if that comes up, delightful breath. And after a while that turns into these nimittas, these great joys and happinesses inside. And those joys and happiness of deep meditation, that's inside the mind. It doesn't leak out into the body, which means it's not distracting at all. Because all those energies, they all come from just being in this moment. If you're in this moment, well, you can't get distracted. Distracted means you're measuring where you are now from where you want to be, or where you were coming from. There's no distraction in those deep meditations. So your stillness is not enough. And now from the United Arab Emirates, this looks like a South Asian. Dear Ajahn Brahm, is it good to get attached to states of mind in meditation such as jhanas? Yes. It's good to get attached to those states of mind in meditation. And the usual quip which I say, if you're riding on the back of a motorbike, please be attached. In other words, that sometimes attachment has got a bad reputation in some parts of Buddha. You've got to be detached from everything. There's a time to be attached. There's a time to let go. And when it comes to meditation, these are stages which are made out of letting go. And so, in fact, you can't really get attached to them. It's an oxymoron. The two words going together like, what do they say, military intelligence. People say two words with oxymorons. They don't fit together. And because of that it's okay to be peaceful in meditation. You don't get attached to them, because the you inside of you is what vanishes and disappears. But it feels in one respect that you indulge in those deep meditations. But don't use the word attached, because there's nothing which is being attached to those deep meditations. It's one of those little sayings which, I've said this before many times, so don't mind repeating it. It's just when I was in Sri Lanka many years ago, the people put me on the spot. It was a bunch of monks, very good monks, meditating monks. And they had a camera, and they just decided to ask me, said, Ajahn Brahm, all this stuff which you teach, like jhanas and stuff, can you really attain these things? Normally, I'm not allowed to answer that question, because if a layperson asks it, it's one of our rules, the 8th Pachiti rule. But if a monk asks it, you have to answer it. So I was put on the spot. So I made an honest reply. It wasn't actually, it was honest, but it was just, I'm able to teach something a little bit more deep. And I said to everybody, on camera, there's about 100 to 200 monks there in this forest monastery in the south of Sri Lanka. And I said to everybody there, Ajahn Brahm cannot enter jhana. And they knew I was a bit of a tricky monk. So they didn't sort of, think, he's just a fraud, he's a fake. Just like many years ago, I did something similar when there was all these, please excuse me, Thai monks, always getting caught with mistresses. And I said to everybody here, and it's recorded somewhere, I said, it's best to be honest. So I said that it's time I made my confession. And everybody was a bit concerned. And I said, I confess, I spent some of the happiest hours of my life in the loving arms of another man's wife. We kissed, we hugged, and she was married to someone else. And a few people were about to leave for the door when I mentioned that woman was my mum. She was married to my father. Anyway, I've been a good monk all my life. But then in this one, I said, Ajahn Brahm can't enter jhana. And they were just waiting, because they knew that my meditation was really excellent. And I said, Ajahn Brahm has to vanish first. I have to disappear. My personal identity is one of the things which vanishes. And then those jhanas happen. And that's a very good point. These are not attainments in the sense of once you get these things, I can do first jhana, I do second jhana. You don't, a personality, an ego, a self doesn't belong in those places. These are states when you disappear and vanish. Your sense of self disappears. So, that's why you can't really get attached to the real jhanas. You have to let go even just to enter those states. And that's also why they're very scary for some people. If you've got strong identities, it's almost impossible to enter those jhanas. Because what you have to put aside for a few hours is just too important to you. But of course, many people know that, also I quote this from the suttas, the Buddha actually said, that you can indulge in those jhanas as a pleasure which is not dangerous. And he said anyone who really indulges in those deep meditations, they can only expect 4 consequences, 4 results of being attached to those deep meditations. And those 4 consequences are the first stage of enlightenment, the second stage of enlightenment, the third stage of enlightenment, and full enlightenment, the 4th stage. This is what happens. So, Satira from United Arab Emirates, please just let go of yourself, the thing which does the attaching, and the jhanas will appear, and enjoy them to the max. And Trina, Ajahn, how do I lose the sense of the body when I can't tell my nose from my toes? Lots of love. That's a nice way of saying it. You can't tell your toes from your nose. They both vanished and disappeared. A lot of times people don't feel their bodies. That if you really notice, is how you always feel some part of your body. But sometimes in meditation, you just, how my legs are just not there. They disappeared, they vanished. Your hands, gone. Back, gone. Head, gone. And how that occurs is usually, the standard way is just becoming aware of your breath. Like the breath, you just know your breath, the rest of the body's gone. You're not aware of those things, just the breath. The breath is like a stepping stone. Going across the river, it's hard to let go of the body totally and still have your really strong awareness. So what it usually does, get something like the body, then that calms down, then you're with your breath. So the rest of the body is gone, but you still got the body, you still got the breath, which is part of your body. And then that gets so quiet and so still. And if any of you look at the Anapanasati Sutta, how the Buddha taught this, as you're watching your breath, the breath gets so delightful. And it's there in the way the Buddha said, now you're not watching the breath through the sense of physical touch anymore. You're watching it through the mind. They call it a chitta sankhara, a mind formation. And that's when the breath becomes so beautiful and delightful. It's a technical point, but nevertheless, you find that the breath becomes more refined. It's no longer a physical feeling. It's how the mind, the 6th sense of mind, knows the breath. And that's when it's so joyful and delightful. You turn the body off. It's disappeared, vanished. It's got this beautiful joy inside. So, not inside the body, inside the mind. So that's where the body is gone. And you know this because sometimes during the meditation, if you get very deep meditation, somebody will tap your shoulder. Hey, time to go home. And you can't even feel it. They'll shout, hey, time to go. And they shout in your ear, you can't hear it. And that's a sign that the body is turned off. The 5 senses have stopped for a while. Okay, I'll finish off with this anecdote, because that's the last question. Many years ago now, but it's a great story. I think I wrote about it in one of my books, about this gentleman, would come here to meditate. And it was Sunday afternoon, nothing on TV, so he told his wife, that's his life, he told his wife, I'm just going into the bedroom to meditate for half an hour, 40 minutes. So off he went into his bedroom to meditate. And then about an hour went past and his wife, he hadn't come out. So he checked in his bedroom, absolutely true story. He was sitting perfectly still in his bedroom, still meditating. That's nice, but then she looked closer and he wasn't even breathing. His chest wasn't going up and down. Perfectly still. And she freaked out. She rang 000, called an ambulance. She didn't know too much about meditation, so she thought he died or had a heart attack or something. Because he'd only meditate for 40 minutes or 45 minutes. So the medics came, Sunday afternoon, and medics, they're very kind, but they're not that gentle, because sometimes they get sort of anxious and they just want to make sure they do what they think is the best to keep the person alive. So they couldn't perceive any heartbeat or breathing at all. So they immediately put him in the back of the ambulance, rushing through the red lights, taking him to, it was Charlie Gardner's they took him to. And they put him straight into the emergency rooms. And they put on all the magic machines. And the ECG was flat, no heartbeat. And even more impressive, the EEG was flat too. no brain activity. He wasn't breathing, his heart wasn't beating. There's no mind, no sort of brain happening. And so his wife told him this is what happened, because he survived, obviously. He survived wonderfully. He wasn't dead at all. He was just in a deep meditation. And so he was having the time of his life, he said. A wonderful experience. But then the doctors, they put, and this is what he said to me, defibrillators on his body, the electric shocks to try and get his heart going again. Apparently they don't use those anymore. They use, was it insulin or something to try and get you going again. But anyway, they just gave him electric shocks. It was an Indian doctor. And thank goodness it was the Indian doctor, because he kept on going. Because he said that his parents, he'd been raised in Australia, but his parents had told him that through deep meditation you can suspend your life activities. All these yogis and stuff, in India, they said did this sort of stuff. And he said the one thing which was different was his body was still warm, hadn't gone cold. And that's fascinating, because that is actually said by the Buddha 2,600 years ago. That's the way you know someone's dead, or they're just in deep meditation. The body is still warm. So if that happens to any of the monks here, they were still sitting here at the end of the meditation, don't cremate us yet. Just check to make sure that if we're cold, okay, you can go ahead, cremate. But if we're still warm, just wait for a while. And he said, he decided it's time to come out of his meditation. Because he told me all about it afterwards, and I just interviewed him a couple of times to make sure I got all the facts right, as he told me them. And he said that he just decided time to come out. And he opened his eyes, and he was not in his bedroom anymore, he was in the hospital, in the emergency room. And as soon as he opened his eyes, beep, 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 the ECG and the EEG started working perfectly. And the doctor didn't know what to do. He said, they gave him a full checkup, he told me. And he said, nothing wrong with you. And so he walked home. He said he walked home, and he said it was just a beautiful experience. What he said to me afterwards, I'll never forget. He said the most wonderful part, the worst part of that experience, the bad part of it, was the scolding he got from his wife on the way back home. She really let him have, don't you ever do that again. I thought you were dead. Don't do that. And so she was very unhappy with him. But he had a wonderful time. So that was a little indication of what happens in deep meditation and how your body just disappears. You can put electric shocks on it, you don't feel it. And you're perfectly mindful, totally aware, but inside, in your sixth sense, the mind. Really beautifully aware. You're not asleep, you're not unconscious. You're conscious of the mind, but not of the other senses. Having a wonderful, happy time, gorgeous time. And that's what happens in the jhanas. So that's how they really occur, and how you can test whether it's a jhana or not. You tap someone and say, leave me alone, I'm in jhana. Yeah, sure. You can't feel the body at all. Whoa, it's wonderful. Okay, please excuse me for indulging in that, but I like those experiences. I like telling about those things. Any questions from the floor here? No? No? Oh, you have, yeah. Of course he did, yeah. It wasn't dare go back in, just you can't stop it. It's a beautiful state, and they're so incredibly safe. You can't be harmed in them. So once you do those sorts of things once, of course you just can't help yourself. You really get to understand just the bliss of meditation. Many of the happinesses and joys and the blisses of life, they have negative consequences. But these have no negative consequences at all, except, scolding from his wife. But he simply explained to her what was going on, there's no problem. You don't die, you just get very healthy. So that's a wonderful thing. Yes, Eddie, oh yeah. Yeah?
Ajahn Brahm, there's a person who is peaceful inside, would have a slower heartbeat.
So yeah, of course, they have a slower heartbeat because it's like a slower engine revs when you're just parked or you're just at the traffic lights. But this is where it's just incredibly peaceful. So there's no brain activity at all. The brain stopped. Flatline.
Interesting. I thought maybe like normally we need a heartbeat 50 to 100 to get the blood sick, to reach the brain. Yeah. Probably you're so peaceful, you don't need this.
No, you don't need anything.
Sorry, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful experiences. So incredibly deeply peaceful. That's why be careful, because sometimes meditators have those experiences and you think, oh, they're dead. They're not dead. Leave them alone. They're having a wonderful time. You can always check just if they're warm or not. If they're cold, okay, call the ambulance, call the undertakers. But if they're still sort of warm, that's a deep meditation. And you know, because you've been meditating before, you know they're good meditators and they just get into these wonderful states. And it's true what you say, this is weird sometimes, dumb stuff which goes against what you've heard and learnt in science, especially in medicine. But it's true, it happens. So it's medicine needs to change. To understand is how powerful these states can be. Okay, you've got to be talking about all this stuff. Again, I enjoy it, but let's finish off because it's going past the time. It's 4:23 now. Sadhu, sadhu, very good. Okay, we can now bow 3 times.